The Iron Game Chalk Talk podcast is brought to you by the following sponsors: EliteForm.com and IgnitionAPG.com. And now, the Iron Game Chalk Talk podcast. Welcome to Iron Game Chalk Talk with your host, Ron McKeefery.
Every time our athletes walk into this weight room, they're going to be pushed to the max.
Let's go! Everything you got!
On this podcast, hear Coach McKeefery's straight talk about training, featuring the top strength and conditioning professionals from around the world. And now, here's your host, Ron McKeefery.
Hey guys, welcome back to Iron Game Chalk Talk. I'm your host, Ron McKeefery, and this is episode number 76. Iron Game Chalk Talk is a weekly podcast where I bring you experts in the field to talk shop. If you haven't already done so, please subscribe to us on iTunes or YouTube, or join the mailing list at ronmckeefery.com to stay up to date with the latest episode and anything else that we have going on. This week, real excited to have a good buddy, Michael Doscher. He's the head strength coach at Valdosta State University. I've had a chance to go down and spend a couple days with him, speak at his clinic that he puts on, spend some time with his staff and different things. And he's one of the guys that I hang out with at the clinics. You know, he's just a great guy. Tons of great nuggets in this episode. But we really wanted to talk about being at a small school. He's at a Division II school down in Georgia. And building it, he's been there 19 years. And so building it from a 900 square foot weight room to a great situation for them now and good staff and the whole deal. And so I know you're going to get a ton out of this. Before we get going, I want to make sure we recognize our sponsors, IgnitionAPG.com and EliteForm.com. Again, we wouldn't be able to do this show, all the costs associated with it and whatnot without sponsors. And EliteForm, sports science company based in Lincoln, Nebraska, is changing the game. Everybody's kind of trying to come up with their version of a tablet or a iPad at a rack or something like that. But being able to integrate it in, measure velocity, measure time, record, playback, integrate a strength planner, which you can get a free trial of the strength planner by emailing IGCT at EliteForm.com. To try that out, I'd definitely recommend that. But their paperless system, the Power Tracker Lite, the Strength Planner Lite, all great products, and they got they're always constantly researching different things. And what I like about them is that the whole concept is to work around you and not be intrusive to what you're trying to do as a strength coach. And so definitely check them out at EliteForm.com. And make sure that if you see them at a clinic or something, that you just let them know that you appreciate them being a part of the show. Lastly, if you enjoy our podcast, you will definitely enjoy strength-ondemand.com. Strength on Demand is a online archive of strength and conditioning clinic presentations by various coaches on all kinds of different topics. And so, it's $97 or I'm not even sure. I think it's $97. For over 50 plus presentations. We're adding one each month, and on the various different topics. But you can just go through, and click on any of these. Anywhere you have a internet connection, you have access to a clinic presentation, and it's just a great way to continue to sharpen the sword. So check that out. Make sure that you stick around, take lots of notes for this episode, and I'll see you on the other side. Take care. Watch record. All right, guys. Real excited to have a good buddy of mine on the show today. Mike Doscher is the head strength coach down at Valdosta and Valdosta State, and I've been down there. I've seen him run his operation, spoke at his conference. We hang out at pretty much every conference we go to together, and just one of the all-time good guys, man. So thanks for coming on the show, brother.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much. It's an honor to be on it.
Mike, kind of go into a little bit of your journey. We like to talk about it's so hard, for a lot of our young coaches, because it's like you want the instant gratification, but it's typically been this long road for a lot of strength coaches. And I know it was for me, and I know it was for you. So kind of go, how did you become a strength coach? And then how did you lead to your current spot?
Well, went to Springfield College as my undergrad, believe it or not. It sounds like a lot. And I went there under physical education, health education, stuff like that, and I started going into the exercise science field. My degree wasn't in exercise science. It was a little bit. It's an BS, but it's more in this allied health, sports, health, fitness type of journey. Because really, strength conditioning was just getting on its feet right then and there. There wasn't many people around having it. If it was, just getting on its feet at lower levels and stuff like that. A lot of coaches were still doing it. So when I was there, I started getting interested in it, and I started studying more and more about it. So I decided my senior year, I had a semester where I had to do an internship. I did at Boston College under Wes Emmert and Mark Leteska.
Yep.
So I did my internship under them, and then from there, I was fortunate enough to get a restricted earnings coach with Dan Austin out in UNLV, and Mark Felipe and Bob Medina out there. And I was there for a year. And during that year, Dan went to Mississippi State, and he needed a GA to come out there. So after I finished my year in Vegas, I went to Mississippi State and took the GA ship there. I was at Mississippi State for 3 years. And then right from there, was fortunate enough to struggle a little bit. Did some farmhand work for a while until a job opened up. And got the job at Valdosta State University through Guy Morris. And that's how I got down here. I've been down here now for 19 years, working on my 19th year down here.
So that's a topic in and of itself, is how do you stay at a place for 19 years anymore? That's definitely not the norm in this profession, is it?
No, but being D2, we're a little different, and things budget-wise, to look at stuff and everything. That I've been fortunate to have some great coaches, have open minds, and athletes trust me, they believe me, they say that to the coaches, and I've just been fortunate enough to be blessed with success through the athletes that we have and the hard work and the coaches trusting in what we do here.
You're up to what? 3 national championships, 4 national championships?
3 and contended for 1. Was a runner-up in 1, and then softball has 2 now, and a runner-up was 1. Our baseball program before I got here in '79 has 1. Our basketball programs, both of them been to the Sweet 16, 8 and 4. Our men been to the 4. So we've had some success here. Our conference-wise, we've been successful. Our soccer team, which just started up 4 years ago this year, because it's the senior class going through. They've been to regional play all 4 years. So it's run very well down here.
No doubt, no doubt. Now, I would imagine, and I know this, it's a lot different now than when you walked in the door 19 years ago, right?
Oh, yes. We used to play, it was called the Old Gym. And it was 900 square feet of usable space in a 9-foot ceiling, middle of the building, no windows, in the middle of a hallway building, like room, with 9-foot ceilings and 4x4 rods.
Pillars, yeah.
Yeah, pillars go in between. We had our racks. We had 7 racks. Our first game, we didn't even have that. We had the old tier racks.
Oh, yeah.
And the old incline benches, and they were all in kilos. It was all rusted. There was no air conditioning, no ventilation. But we got done now. It was funny because our basketball guys that were 6'5" or tall, they had to squat down. We had to use 10-pound weights to load up the bar so they could do overhead press and all that.
That's
so
awesome.
It's fun.
That's awesome.
It's grown now to a beautiful facility, as you've seen, and we're very fortunate, very blessed. The athletes deserve it. It's their facility. The program deserves it.
Yeah, no question. No, I mean, I guess first kind of go into a little bit of kind of, what your staff size looks now. I mean, Division II school, contending for a national championship almost, a year in and year out. But, what your staff size looks like, kind of where your budget kind of lies. And then, I want you to kind of get into what were some of the creative things that you did early on to kind of, to grow from a 900 square foot weight room into, I think it's about 12 now, right?
7,500.
Yeah, 7,500. So, in a beautiful room. Like I said, I've been there. It's organized very, very well. So, what were some of the things you did? Because it didn't just happen overnight.
When I first got here, I was all by myself, no help whatsoever. And the funny thing is, I had shared between KSPE, the rec department, and the athletic department. So we're talking, it was a real war for a while.
Sure.
About hours and who had what and who had priority, who was allowed in when. But we finally worked all that out. And all I did was just be creative, just simple programs in the beginning. When you're just coming out, and I was just coming off my master's and my GA ship. This was my first job ever. And a good piece of advice I got was keep it simple, stupid. Especially when you come into programs, you don't know anybody. You're not going to change the world. Learn your athletes, learn your coaches before you try to implement a program. So we kept it simple, simple bench, simple squats, simple cleans, no snatches really at times, simple overhead presses, to build the athlete's trust and the coach's trust in you, and then you can go from there. So luckily my wife, who's my fiance at the time, she was still finishing up her doctorate degree at Mississippi State, so I had a year there by myself. So I just totally immersed myself into the program and just was there constantly. Well, you know the deal.
Oh, yeah.
There 4 in the morning, leave at 8, 10 o'clock at night when you don't have anybody to go home to. You might as well work like a dog and get it done.
Right.
So we did that in the beginning. And then we started having success and working on it. Football struggled. We were in a transition. Hal Mummy left. Mike Kelly came in. There was a lot of things that Coach Kelly was doing to help improve the facility-wise. We weren't performing well on the field, but we were still moving in the right direction as far as facilities and recruiting and stuff like that and building up our budgets. At the time when I got the job, it was like an allowance budget. I had to go ask for my allowance. Whatever I asked for, it was like, well, we'll see, kind of like Christmas wish list.
Yeah.
But over time, got some advice from other strength coaches. Boyd helped me a little bit and stuff like that. I asked them advice at conferences. Like one of the tricks I get to get some money and new equipment, I started using words like liability and stuff. So we got the lawyers involved and said, this equipment's outdated, it's not safe. No. You want somebody to, especially with the PE department, using it as classes, weight training classes for instructors and all. So we went about that way, how this is unsafe and stuff like that. So they finally got ventilation in there. We got new equipment, and I think my first equipment was by Zornage. We got the half racks from them.
Yep.
And we got 7 of those. And back then, it was always platforms. So I got platforms. Now I know better. You don't buy platforms, just build them into the floor. Save space. But we got nice platforms, and we got all that done. Was there for about another 6 or 7 years. And during that time, my wife came. I got married. I had my first son, Dustin. And I went to my AD and said, look, I'm going to burn out if I don't get some help. Because my wife's not seeing me. My son doesn't see me.
Right.
And I need help. So he understood that, having a child, 2 children of his own. So I finally was able to get a GA, curtailed GA. That was my first GA that I had, and we started from there. Now it's built up over the years where they wanted to build a new student union, so they wanted to tear down the old gym. So we got moved to an elementary school, and actually the coaching staff moved down, but I moved up because I got the middle school's gym. So I actually got open space and stealing height finally, and I acquired another GA.
Right.
I was having 2 GAs myself, which is really nice. And things started progressing. Our new facility got built. When I moved to a new facility, I was able to acquire a 3rd GA because I started using words like coaching staff to player ratio, safety on that. Again, using liability is a great tool, especially in strength conditioning, because of everything that's going on right now.
Right.
Coverage-wise, coveraging your athletes, they'll listen. Now, I'm not fortunate enough to have a big enough budget to have full-time staff. I have 3 GAs, and I have I try to get interns from everywhere. I'm always looking for interns. I really don't have the rules Division I has, so I can take really as many as I want, which is very fortunate, which helps me at Division II.
Sure.
So that's a nice thing. I'm always looking for interns year-round. I worked out a deal with our exercise science department. The kids that are interested in strength conditioning, they come down and visit me and build from there. So basically it's myself, three incredible GAs every 2 years. The only problem I have is my GA, all 3 rotate out every 2 years. And that's kind of hard. I'd like to have one stay over and have it rotating, so some consistency.
Right.
But right now that's not the case. It might be in December. One of my GAs might be having a job and he might be leaving, so I'll be looking for a GA here in December. Possibility. So if anybody's interested, send your resume down.
Gotcha.
But that's how it developed up from there. Just using my assets as far as liability and coverages, and believe it or not, the NSCA's, our book that we have about ratios and all that, our standards guidelines, really helps with the lawyers and the athletic directors because then they see the need and fulfill it. So that's a good tool I've used over the years.
Well, I think, you hit it right on the head, and something that I want to make sure we hone in on is that language is so important when you're talking to, coaches or athletic directors or board of regents or presidents or whatever, because, you can go in there and say, I want, and act like a Neanderthal, but if you go in there and you're using their language, what they operate in their day-to-day operations, you're showing your ability to be professional. And, I think that's one of those things that we constantly talk about at the conferences is the need for our profession to be more professional,
It's two different worlds when you try to do stuff. It really is. I mean, as I said, it's all about language and when you use your language. When you're dealing with the administrators and lawyers and all that, if you don't talk their language exactly, they just look like you're just like another meathead and boom, boom, boom. But when you're in the weight room, they come in your area, they understand why you use your language there. Now, I'm not saying bad language or anything, but why you talk and act a certain way. One, because you're trying to set a thing of lifting and other things and an attitude or a tempo that has to be set certain ways. But that does not work when you try to say exactly, when you walk to the AD, I need this now. Well, that's not going to work because he's going to be like, you ain't going to do that.
Or what you typically get is I need this because X, Y, and Z schools have this. Well, it's there's plenty of ways to point and say, well, X, Y, and Z schools have more wins or more money or more boosters or whatever you want to say. But if you turn it around and you're like, look, we can use we can have a $10,000 lawsuit, or we can pay $2,000 for a piece of equipment. Then it's numbers, it's mathematics, and
that's what I did. That's what I did in my AD when we got this new weight room and stuff. He was kind of floored about the prices of some things. He's like, well, we can get this bar for X dollars, but you're paying this much for this bar. I said, this bar is a lifetime warranty. This bar is a 3-year warranty. There's warranties on things for a reason. So if we buy this bar that's $100 cheaper, in the long end, we're going to be paying 3 to 8 to 9 times more than we would if we bought this bar.
Sure.
So that's the language you have to talk. They see numbers. They don't see. To you, it's practical. It's common sense. Then they're looking at budget lines, red and black. So you have to talk in their language of why it's more efficient to buy quality instead of the lower prices of it.
So with your situation there, you mentioned that you got 3 GAs, and so the typical response, by coaches is you got that basketball coach, you got that volleyball coach, and they're all wanting to go to the Division I level, and they're wanting to operate as if they're at the Division I level where, at those Division I schools, they have a full-time assistant working with their sports, How do you, and I know how much you invest in your people, so we're going to get to that, but, how do you set the tone, set the relationship with the coaches that, hey, look, you're getting, somebody committed to you, but, they're going to be green or they're going to make mistakes?
Well, right now, I hire good people. You know that. We've talked about that. We'll talk about here in a minute. But it's also the trust in me they have, because I always tell them I'm overseeing the program, I'm looking at what they're designing, and that kind of builds their trust into it that, even though they're not my sport directly, I'm still around, I'm still talking to the girls, I'm still making myself seen, I'm just letting the other coaches, and I'm standing back. And I'm watching the girls and watching my GA and grading them and evaluating everybody at the same time. But it also gives them the idea the girls don't know I'm evaluating. I'm just standing back, talking to them and stuff like that, so they get comfortable with them being in charge. Mm-hmm. So that's where the coaches trust me with that. Have we had some incidents? Some coaches have pulled GAs out and said, look, if he's worked with them, I'm not having them in. Yes, that happens. That happens at every level. That's just that. You never have a full-time. Right. You have a full-time assistant, and the coach say, that guy's not working with my team. And you're like, being the head guy, then you got to play.
You got to shuffle them around.
Yeah, you got to do shell games somehow and go like that. So
yeah, I hear you.
We've all been there.
Well, and you hit it on the head earlier with the selection process, and making sure you're getting the right people in. If I'm interviewing with Mike Doscher, what am I expecting? What kind of questions am I expecting to get?
I kind of interview people uniquely. I look for their strengths and my weaknesses. If I have a weakness and they're strong in it, by their resume, that's somebody that's going to be interested in me. I look at their intelligence, what people say, how they work other places, how intelligent they are. I want people that are smarter than me. Because I want to be challenged also in some ways, not authoritative-wise, but pushing me to keep reading and keep thinking outside the box. Because that's only going to help our program. So my dad always said, hire people smarter than you and stronger in your weaknesses, because it only helps program. Because at the end of the day, it's not about us. It never has been, never will be. It's about the programs and success and the people that are there now and that have been there and will be there. That's what you're trying to keep the reputation and honor of. But that's what I try to do. So my interview process is, one, they come off confident. The confidence in them. Not all, and I don't want, I always tell them this too, I don't want the standard lines.
Right.
Be yourself, because you and I both know there can't be another Ron, there can't be another Michael, there can't be another Boyd, but there can be another Corey or Taylor or Michael Raleigh or your GAs. There can be another one of them. There can't be another one of them, but they can be the best they can be.
That's right.
That's why I try to make them understand is, being at Division II, I need you as an assistant, not as a GA. So that's why I look for those qualities. So questions would be like, if a coach says this to you, what are you going to do? And see how they handle it. So if a player does this, how are you going to do? If a coach gives you no Olympic lifting whatsoever, are you good enough to make sure that your toolbox, that you can find a way to get what you need to get done with his limitations?
Right.
Those type of questions, I put them in situations to make them think, and then say, well, I'd ask this guy for that. And the best answer I ever get sometimes is, well, I don't know what I do right now, but I'd go around and ask people that I respect and know what they've done. Right. That shows me that they're not just reacting. They're going to take time to think and process what just went on and go from there. Because I'd rather have somebody give me an honest answer than a BS answer.
Right. No, I agree 100% on that.
Websites, I ask them what's their three, if I was pulling on the web browser, what three things would I find? I say, be honest. And most of them say Facebook, this, that's fine. Books they read, when Jen was here, she said, ask what books they read.
Right.
It's not the ones that they read for work, what pleasure books they read. Because then that. I ask them their hobbies. Because golly knows you got to have a hobby in our profession. If you don't, you go nuts.
I'm still trying to find mine. But
yeah, so I am too. But I guess my hobby's trying to find my hobby.
That's right. That's right.
But stuff like that, and just to see, and then what I do is also part of my interview process, my old GAs will call them and interview them. Because they know what their sport's going to have, and they know how I am,
right.
And I want their opinion how they're going to act with me. If they feel there's going to be a good interaction, good chemistry. So Andrew's given me several great people that have done that. And so is, Shep or Allen, Ben has. They've all given me their opinion. It's helped me a lot in making decisions who I would hire next.
No, that's a great point. And we actually, I meet with our staff, our intern staff on Tuesdays, and that was a topic of discussion today was, the interview process and what types of questions. And so, the types of questions, I'm with you. I look for, intangibles, things that are going to stand out. But then in the actual interview process, I'm looking for, are they dynamic? Do they have energy? Are they, am I going to have to freaking prod them every day to, when they're on that 12th hour?
Yeah.
And then I try to put them in situations that, are going to be situations that keep things off my plate. So, a coach comes in and says, I'm not doing squats. What are you doing? If an athlete comes in and says, take a hike, how you handling that situation? If I come in and I say, I don't like your program, how you handling disagreement with me? And, as long as they have a level of, like you see you as the authority and there's not going to be any issues there, but they're not just going to roll over either. And looking for that confidence, I'm good with that. If they can give me some background information, you and I have both been wrong. I promise you.
Yes. So I've been wrong more times than right sometimes.
That's right. But I agree with you on that, 100% on that and being in that scenario. And then I also agree with you that having your staff call, I tell my guys, hey, look, call them and scare them off. Try to scare them off. Tell them the worst version of me, and see if they still want this job or not. Because they're the ones that have to deal with me in the bad mood or with the demands or the challenges that I'm going to bring to the situation. And so they kind of take pride in that as well. They like that part.
That's one thing. My philosophy too is I want them to handle everything and be my dad also told me another thing which I really respect is don't hire them as GAs, hire them to be assistants.
Right.
You try and change the internship should have taught them how to be a GA. A GA should teach them how to be an assistant. Assistant should teach them how to be a first assistant or a head.
Yep.
So I'm trying to train them for the next job. So You keep coming to me for everything, and I have to tell you exactly what to do, then I'm treating you like a GA. If I give you an assignment, I don't tell you how to do it, as long as it gets done and it's under the umbrella we've talked about, then I don't need to know. As long as it gets done, you say, Coach, it's done, it's fine. If I got to tell you word for word for everything to do, then you're not going to be good at the next level.
That's right.
So that's what I try to tell is how to progress, how to train for the next job, not the job they have now. Because that helps you.
That's a great point. Well, you've given lots of different pieces of advice that have been given to you. What about, maybe what you would consider the best piece of advice that you give those young coaches, maybe when they first walk in the door, as a little nugget that they're going to carry with them for the rest of their career?
Be yourself. Athletes will see right through you if you try to be anybody else. Don't bring another program to another school because you don't know they don't have the same tools, they don't have the same coaches, they don't have the same athletes. Walk in with your philosophy that you're standing behind and be yourself. Now, your philosophy is what you brought from another school. Just make sure you can adapt it. But be confident in who you are and be yourself when you come into a program because that's what's going to win the athletes over and coaches over. So when you falter and follow, don't look like you believe who you are, then it's going to cause problems. The biggest thing is be yourself and be confident in what yourself is. And with that, don't be afraid to make mistakes. You know that, like we just talked about. You learn more from your mistakes than you ever will from your successes. Because success hides things that you could have done better. Mistakes bring them out in the glare.
Well, and I'll add to that, own them. When you make them, own them.
Exactly.
If you're pointing finger, then that's something that you just can't overcome in this field.
Yes, sir.
Well, Mike, we always end the show with some different resources here. So give us a motivational quote that either you have in the weight room or one that you just kind of live by.
Well, one I have right now it's been for about a year or two now. It's Day. Every day's an Day. You get better, stronger, faster, smarter, uglier. There's always at the end every day. You can always do something So I always yell, it's an Day. Every day's an Day.
I like that. I'm going to steal that one.
So, it can be used for just lighten the mood or get the point across.
Yeah.
Right now with the football team, because the situation we're in and everything like that, we're 5-2. We can go 5-5. We're still in the playoff hunt. I tell them right now we got to make sure our T's are crossed and our I's are dotted.
Yeah.
That's it. We're a good team. But we're not good enough to win if we don't cross our T's and dot our I's.
Mm-hmm.
That was like our 2012 team. They were good athletes, but we didn't have great athletes. But they crossed their T's and dotted their I's, which made us successful because we were always prepared. So that's what I'm trying to get this team to understand. They're starting to buy into that and understand it. So
no, that's good.
You don't have a bunch of little sayings that you do.
That's why we do it, because that's how you learn from your mentors and the coaches that you're mentoring right now, pass it along, and hopefully with this show we're bringing it to some masses here. But what about, you mentioned books earlier. Give me maybe a strength and conditioning book, and then maybe a book outside of strength and conditioning that you recommend.
Well, I really just read a lot of Vermeil. I liked a lot over the years. I've read him a lot. Actually, Dr. Mann out there in Missouri, his APRE and his tendos, I'm really reading that now too, because we have 10 tendo units. We're starting to use them a lot. And the APR seems to be working. Some easy strength we're reading here and there. So I was dabbling in all the books because we're trying to develop in our system now is beginner level, intermediate, advanced, and elite. For the beginner, a 5-3-1, a trifecta phasing, how we're going to apply these in those zones.
Right.
Apply them in the intermediate. So they're not just doing the same program over and over again. They're getting tastes of different programs so we keep accelerating.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm really reading now. As a personal leisure reading, to be honest, to be flat out honest with you, I had dyslexia when I was growing up, so I'm really not a big reader. What I like to do for my type of, just outside, I like poems and stuff like that,
cool.
And look for quotes and stuff. That's kind of I don't read for leisure. I always read something tied back to give my athletes some nuggets or some words of knowledge. Like right in my office here, there's a little jar, which is called Food for Thought. And it has quotes in there. We pull them out. We'll do that with team. Because at the end of every session, we lift that. I'll tell them they have to do two things. The team has to call it up. They have to have a quote, what it means to them and how it applies to the team. And then we say our prayer. And then we'll break it from there.
That's awesome. That's
and I got that one from Andrew Altoff. He did when he first came here. He brought that over, so I've always tried to keep that.
That's really good. What about an app and a website that you check out regularly?
Elite Fit, I like that one a lot. T Nation, Juggernauts, the ones I'm on regularly. As far as apps, right, I'm still trying to. I said Skype. I'm trying to learn that one. Those are basic ones I use. I'm not a real iPad guy or stuff like that. I'm trying to get into it more. I'm trying to understand more of how to use. Heard Gymware is doing some really good things, and Elite Forum more. So I'm trying to look at those things now and see how they can tie in and try to find some type of grant or maybe go through the education part and maybe do some research, get some over here of that stuff.
No, that's awesome. Is that how you got your Tendo units?
Actually, there was end of year money that came about, so
That's always nice.
I was helped to curtail some and use for weight room. Because what I always tell our coaches, because I do have 2 boosters now that do donate to the weight room, and that comes out to about $7,000, $12,000 a year, which is pretty nice.
Yeah.
If a booster doesn't know what to do but wants to give to athletics, and you can give the scholarships, you can give endowments, but what's going to make an immediate impact is giving to the weight room because it helps every sport.
Right.
Because it's making them a better athlete. So I finally sold some of our foundation people and all that, well, you don't know what to do and you want to help athletics a lot? How about the weight room? And I started to get, even coaches are starting to give some of their money. Like if they give X amount of money, they'll give 10% of their donation to the weight room also.
That's good.
So that's the way I've been trying to work around my budget on it, because really it's not much of a budget. I mean, the foundation is what I have given, and Mr. Reinhardt, our athletic director, gives us maybe about 8 to 10 a year, but that also has to go towards some of the GA stipends and stuff like that. So it's not very much that way. So that's why I supplement with foundation money.
Yeah. Where do you last question here, where do you see the profession going? I mean, if your advice for a young coach getting in the field, how can they get to a point where they've been 19 years and 19 years plus in the profession and as successful as you've been?
Well, surround yourself with very good people when you get a program. Definitely surround yourself with great people and let the athletes believe in you and trust in you. That helps a long way. The future of this program, or actually strength conditioning in general, is probably going to be in the technology, because man's coming up with some stuff that, it's not percentages anymore. You got to hit these zones, and it's making a lot of sense. The kids are recovering, and that's why I think it's going. It's not the training. The training's going to be so far ahead with all those technologies. How we catch up with the recovery. We don't keep up on how to recover athletes and educate our coaches now on how to recover, because like the catapult, which Andrew's using and Baylor and other schools are using, that's showing the coach, look, you think it's a light day, but it's not.
Right.
Why? So that's where I think it's going, is us being more proactive instead of being instinctive anymore. We have backed up facts and knowledge, and being in technology, knowing that real well will help the guys in the future.
No, I agree 100% with that. Absolutely. Well, buddy, man, I appreciate you taking some time out of your day, and I've been down there, I've seen you with your staff, I know a lot of your former staff, and you practice what you preach each and every day, and one of the great guys in the profession. So, thanks so much, man.
Well, thank you. It's an honor, and I feel the same about you. One of the best ever is. Matter of fact, my wife said to say hello.
Please tell her I said hi, will you?
At the barbecue, so.
That's awesome. That's how I said hello. All right, buddy. Thanks a lot, man.
Thank you.
That's it for this episode of Iron Game Chalk Talk. Thanks to this week's guest, as well as our sponsors, EliteForm.com and IgnitionAPG.com, for bringing this episode to you for free. Make sure to check out RonMcKeefery.com, where you can join our mailing list, find the show notes, including all the links and resources mentioned, and information about Coach McKeefery's other products. While you are there, please join Coach McKeefery in the comments section thanking our guest for sharing. If you haven't subscribed to Iron Game Chalk Talk on YouTube or iTunes yet, make sure to do so. Comments, ratings, and reviews are always welcome. Coach McKeefery can be found on Twitter at @RMcKeefery, on Facebook and YouTube at /Ron.McKeefery. That's it for this week. Be sure to check back next week for another great episode of Iron Game Chalk Talk.